Penny came to Hawaii to do a training on solution-focused brief therapy and restorative justice. And we thought that we would also do this piece right now on a new script that can help people who want to manage conflict using restorative justice and solution-focused brief therapy. Frederick Bannock, who is a psychologist in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and I and Penny have been working on this script to help people.
Okay, so we wanted to just share the various stages of using restorative justice and solution-focused combination. And many of you out there who are familiar with restorative justice and solution-focused, you'll find it's very informative and really supportive of the work that you do.
Right, and the script will be available on our websites, my website, LorennWalker.com, and Frederick Bannock's website, and Penny can put it on her website too for the Columbia Heights Shaw Collaborative in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So we start by convening the circle, and we always consider a group process when we want to manage conflict. Conflict doesn't happen to people in a vacuum, it happens in groups. So we want to invite as many people as possible to get together and discuss how they can manage different conflicts. You can work with children and students who are in school having, harassing each other, bullying, that kind of thing. You can use it for family matters too, all kinds of situations.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you could also find it useful for it in using for mediation purposes with kids who are involved in, violent behaviors or gang violence or any situation whatsoever where the victim and maybe the perpetrator could come together to work on a resolution or a solution around, the violence or the harm or the hurt that has occurred.
And Penny does a lot of work with people, gangs in the Washington, D.C. area, and with families, and we do a lot of work here in Hawaii with people who have been hurt by serious crime, people who are in prison, and people who have protective orders, TROs, against each other.
Yeah.
Doing these group processes has been really useful. So this script, first of all, it's a matter of the facilitator convening the circle and getting the people together who need to be there. So you try to get as many of the most important stakeholders to come. So that's an important piece, the preparation.
Preparation is key to the success of any of these meetings because you really want to make sure the participants who are coming have clear understanding of what the purpose of the meeting is about and the outcome of the meeting, the intention for the outcome of the meeting. So all participants go through a telephone interview or face-to-face interview in our case where we talk about the meeting itself and the process and what is being asked for each participant at those meetings. So that's very important. Preparation is very, very important.
Right. So, and you should anticipate about an hour and a half, 2 to 3 hours for the group to meet. And so then you open the circle. You get the people down there and you open it. And the opening can be any way that they choose, and you can ask them. You can ask them ahead of time when you're going to convene the circle, when you're preparing them, how are you going to open up the circle. And then the next step we have in this, it's just a draft script that can help you along in the process, is to build on the strengths that the people have. And if it's a group of people, like if it's students in a fight at school or something, maybe they're from the same school, or people who live in the same neighborhood, you can identify what the strengths are of the area that they have in common. So like their neighborhood, what do you like about your neighborhood? You can ask each individual person, what's a good thing about your neighborhood? What's a good thing about your school?
Right.
What do you like about your school?
Right. And when you're working with these individuals, usually they have ideas about what you're asking them. And the strengths is very important to build in, having to identifying the strengths first is very important for the success of the meeting because it sets the tone, it sets the pace, and it's begin to open the opportunity for the participants to kind of engage with the facilitator. So it's a very very important step to kind of identify what is common to each of the participants wherever they are located.
Right, you want to get shared values by the group, by the people in the circle. You want to identify what the shared values are. And after that, you can ask each individual, after you've established what some of the strengths are, you can find out what their goals are. And instead of just saying, what are your goals, you can ask people, what are your best hopes from this circle today?
And another good one is that we asked in Solution Focus is that at the end of this meeting today, if everything goes the way you would like it to go, what would you see different at the end of this meeting? And that's really helping to identify, the goal for the actual meeting itself.
Right, so asking people, what will you be doing different after this?
Yes.
After this meeting or this circle, what will you be doing different? What would others see you doing different is really important. Because you want to bring in the relationship other people have with other people to make it meaningful. And because it's solution focused, we look at finding exceptions.
Yes, an exception is basically a time when the participant could have been doing something wrong. For example, a child who is bullying a lot could be hitting kids and always hitting kids, always aggravating other kids. Was there a time that this child wasn't doing that? We always say things always happening, but there are times that we know in life that we always do not do something. We don't always bully. We don't always beat each other. Parents beat their kids, but there are times when things are not happening. So we want to really lift that up. A time when this particular situation that we're working with was not occurring, and what was different. Who knows that things were different at that time? And so we'll have a deeper conversation about the exception finding.
And so the way we ask people in the meeting or the circle is, when is the conflict happening less? And you can ask, could the situation be worse? And how come it's not worse?
Yes.
So people can realize that there are exceptions to the problem and the conflict.
And step 6 is designing the progress. Basically, looking for signs when things are going well. We were going to look at all of what we've been charting and writing on the script during the family time or the meeting time, and look at what's been going well with the group, with the circle, and what the family and the circle has identified as what's working for them, and really lift those things up. And we said, seeing that you maybe identify, a better relationship with another child in the school. A particular child was bullying each other, and this particular, aggressor identified maybe if he or she stopped doing something, then they wouldn't have any more victims. And so we're going to lift that up. We want to lift that up to the aggressor and to the team and to the circle as to what is really working and how we can do more of that.
And then when Penny just said, when you write it on the script, she meant you have big poster paper where you write down, you collect all the information that the people are contributing during the circle. So when they're talking about stuff like when the conflict is less, you have that written down, and then you build on those points and you look at the progress trying to get there.
And we use a scaling question, I think, during this time as well, right? And scale the progress or the goal that the group is working towards, and scaling how confident that the young child or a parent, whomever is identifying this process, as how confident are they that they are able to move up one point in the scale, so that the group knows that this person has ideas about what change look like and what they're willing to work towards.
Right, and you want really concrete descriptions of, like if someone says they think they're at number 2 on the scale for having confidence that the conflict can be resolved. And then you want to know specifically, well, what is it that gives you, that tells you that you're at a number 2? What specifically happens? What are the behavioral and the factual points that lead you to believe you're at a number 2?
Right, very good, yes.
And then, like Penny said, what can you do to move up a little bit?
And we usually use what is familiar solution focus. What else?
Yeah.
What else can you do? What else can you do? And who will notice when you do those things? Always bring in the relationship piece into the conversation. We really want to engage the rest of the members of the circle to help us identify what else could be better and what else could be different.
Right. And then we have the restorative justice piece in the script. And this can be used, people always think that you have to have someone admit guilt. There has to be a person who's willing to take accountability for a situation before you can do restorative justice. Actually, you can use restorative justice without that. And most crime actually goes with no one ever being arrested. And you can use restorative justice questions. You can ask, how were people affected?
Right.
What could be done to repair the harm? You can ask these very valuable questions that help people heal and find a solution to their situation.
And it's important to realize that, as Lorenn said, not every time do you have the perpetrator in the room or the aggressor in the room, and really helping the victim know that without that person being there, they can work through the harm or the hurt that they've been through.
Right, and a lot of times people who commit crimes, they don't know who they committed the crime against.
Yes.
Burglaries, all kinds of stuff, they don't know who. Or sometimes the victims don't want to meet with them.
Yeah.
But the person who did the bad act could still develop a restorative solution to their conflict without the other person's presence.
So some of the questions could be, how are the people affected? And that's very important for the aggressor sometimes to hear that question, to have that question posed to them. How do you think your behavior affected the person, the victim in the room, or even if the victim is not around, how do you think your behavior impacted that person or affected or really caused harm to that person? Just to get them to recognize that there is something that went wrong, seriously wrong. And that's why we're here today, to have this meeting.
Right, right. And, you know, what could possibly be done to repair the harm? And what small step could you take? And very concrete, again, finding out exactly what it is you could do.
Right. So be very specific at this point in clarifying, again, what needs to happen to go forward. Always what needs to happen to go forward, but in the context of, is there an understanding of what change that aggressor has to make, or what behavior change that he or she has to engage to get to the results.
Right, right. And then there's the closing of the circle, because hopefully you've come to a point where people agree on what they want and steps they're going to take to get whatever it is. Even without identifying who did anything wrong, you can still figure out what the group collectively wants to happen to have peace and a good solution.
And so what makes this a beautiful process is that it really helps strengthen both the aggressor or the perpetrator and the victim through this process. I think the beauty of this is that I think everyone leaves with a clear understanding of what a better future would look like, and what a better hope would look like, both for the victim and the aggressor. And I think the aggressor hopefully learn a lot about, you know, their behavior, but the victim also learn about how to take care of themselves through this process as well. And we really want individuals to come out in a better way, much stronger and more confident, and have clarity around safety and well-being.
Right, and to understand too that conflict is a natural part of life.
Right.
Conflict and not getting what you want is how life is. And so the more we develop these processes for people, especially young people, to deal with them and have open discussion, the stronger and more resilient the community will be.
Right. Good.
So, yeah, and just go ahead and email us. And Penny and I too, we forgot to say that we got to know each other because our teacher was Insu Kim Berg, who introduced us many, many years ago. And she knew that we had the shared interest in using restorative justice with solution-focused approaches.
And this is something, as we said earlier, that we do. Lorenn does a lot of work in the jail system here in Hawaii. And I work a lot with the young people, with gang-involved kids in the Washington, D.C. area, using this through a mediation process. And it is something that truly works. Over the last few years, we have tested this model in different ways. And solution focus is the best strengths-based model that we have ever been able to work with for over the years. So we encourage you to reach out and get more of this information. Email us for the scripts, and we are available to talk with you guys out there.
Yeah. And so, okay, thanks.
Thanks for listening.
Okay.